exciting day because, well, it's an exciting day because it's another day that we get to train people that want to improve. And here's a great example of somebody wanting to improve. This conversation is literally going to be about the safety bar, but it's really not about the safety bar as much as it is about wanting to improve, that desire, gaining the knowledge that's necessary, and then applying it and understanding that a lot of obstacles in life are really temporary and you can have massive impact on them. One of the things that you need to know is that you just need to ask for help most of the time. And it's not always going to be so simple as just asking for help and then it just gets resolved, but sometimes it is. So I'll give you an example. One of our athletes who plays volleyball for SUNY Geneseo was squatting over the summer, and she was like, man, I'm getting good results on the safety bar. And I'm like, yeah, well, obviously you are. And you should be using the safety bar because you're a volleyball player. And the more you swing, the more stress and damage, whether good or bad, damage will be done to your shoulder. And so as you're swinging all the time, or even setting sometimes, there's going to be stress on your body. Now, if you're going to try and do a straight bar squat, you're going to be back here like this. And it is, whether you like it or not, whether or not your form is perfect or not, is going to cause increased stress on your shoulder. So you don't want to have to stop squatting during the season. Sometimes people will be like, oh, do a front squat. Well, if you don't think a front squat's also stressful on your shoulder, you're not front squatting that much weight. People will be like, well, if you do the form perfect, no. There is still going to be stress there. Then some people will be, well, do a Zercher squat. That's not going to be like the same kind of stress. But it's also a different kind of load because where the weight is loaded is a little bit different. However, with the safety bar, whether it's a squat, a step up, split squat, ball carrying, whatever it is, when you're doing it with the safety bar, because you can have your hands here or you can even have them down, whatever position you want to have them in, there is little no pressure on your shoulders at all. And so at that point, it's reduced the impact on your shoulder, which is something that's going to be, now think about other sports. This isn't just volleyball. This is, if you're a pitcher, if you're a quarterback, if you're anybody where there's crazy stress on your shoulders and you need to be refreshed while you're doing a lower workout without having to maybe impact your grip strength or because you want to train, but if you're in season, you don't want to overtrain, but you do need to make sure that you try to maintain the amount of strength that you accumulated as much as possible through the off season, and you need to do that in season. So a few things. One, there's better core stability anytime that you're doing a safety bar because of the way that the weight is displaced with you as it relates to your core. Just is. Anybody who's squatted with a safety bar knows that versus a back squat. And I don't have any problems with back squat, but we're talking about for somebody like a volleyball player that's a hitter. So there's reduced impact on the shoulder from there, and it's also greater increase in core stability through that. The limited shoulder mobility no longer is something that is impacted by the safety bar because you're not having to keep your arms in that external rotation with that, jammed up labrum situation. So the lower liability. The next thing is it forces adaptation to a more upright posture, which really is what we're talking about is, all right, so you see a lot of volleyball players, you'll see they're really, really collapsed. A lot of times they don't have full range at their chest to open up, and it's because they're constantly hitting and swinging and swinging and swinging, and so the shoulder rolls forward, right? And that posterior aspect of the shoulder gets overstretched most of the time. And so we want to get them back up here. But the problem is if you put a bar on their back and then have them get up here, it's putting crazy pressure on supraspinatus and a bunch of other muscles going through there and creates pinching and impingement sometimes. And so you're not trying to make it worse to try and make it better. You want to do that with less stress. So the safety bar, boom, has you in that upright position, doesn't have you collapsed here, and has the core being activated and is less stressful but still impactful in a good way. Then the last thing is a great transition for other exercises, but most importantly, great transition for sports movement. And here's the thing that's important for volleyball. Let's say you're a volleyball player and you're not beach volley, let's say indoor, but this is even more important for beach. But let's say you're on an approach and you're actually about to jump and hit. Well, if you take your eyes off the court, that's kind of a liability. You want to jump as high as you possibly can, But you don't want to remove your eyes from the court because you need to keep that visibility as much as you can on the court and on the ball. So if you collapse your body and then collapse your head, you're going to have to tweak your neck in order to get up there. Now, with the bar on your back, you stay more upright. So you're getting used to going through that jump mechanic with your head in a position where you can see the ball better and you can see the court better. And that has a more seamless transition to playing and jumping. It's not a coincidence that we train a ton of volleyball players and a bunch of beach volleyball players, and we have a bunch of pitchers. And the one thing is you have to be trying to do these 5 things with your training. This is just for any athlete, but specifically for people like pitchers, people like hitters, quarterbacks. It's 1, you got to lower the risk of injury. That's one of the most important things. Number 2, you need to increase their performance on the court, on the field, in the arena where they actually are trying to get better. If you've got a crazy deadlift in here, but you're not fast as a sprinter, who cares? If you've got a crazy squat, who cares if you can't jump as high as you need to be able to hit the ball down, okay? You got to increase the ease of the movement, so the mechanics have to get better. So think about things that enhance the mechanics while at the same time reducing the risk of injury and elevate the level of play on the court. The next one is reducing recovery time. Anything we can do to reduce recovery time, that's massively impactful, because the more you play, if we can train and still keep on getting better and still playing at a high level, that's awesome, because over the course of the year, your skill's going to get better. And if we can stay healthy, you've got a chance to really be at the highest level. And the next thing, and this is probably really important and overlooked, is the more we can increase the joy of training, the better. Which means if you're not in pain, you're going to, for the most part, enjoy that better. There's a few people that love being in pain, but they don't want to be in a pain where there's a pain from training and it's not a good pain. If it's like, wow, that's a burn, like, okay, well, that's different. But if it's, wow, my shoulder hurts and I can't move it, and after I train, it gets worse. We want to get better through our training, not worse. And so today, our athlete's dad came and picked up the safety bar that we donated to SUNY Geneseo's women's volleyball program, and they will have less stress on their shoulder this year because they will be squatting the way they should be squatting. Not necessarily with dumbbells, not with a straight bar, not in external rotation, jacking up their shoulders, but actually getting healthier through getting stronger. And yes, you should be rolling out, and you should be doing manual therapy, and you should be doing all the stretching and PIR and all that other stuff, and ice bath and cryo, and all that stuff is great. It also takes time. So let's reduce the amount of stress while still getting stronger and make ourselves more progressively sustainable, which means we keep getting better skill-wise and we don't drop off performance-wise. And the combination of that, 2 things happening, creates a flywheel where at the end of the year, we're at our best and we're peaking instead of dragging ourselves through one more set or duct taping our shoulder because we can no longer swing without pain, because we've been doing strength training and getting tougher and working through pain and a whole bunch of other things that make no sense. Like, you can get stronger even in the season, especially if your skill keeps getting better. You get more efficient with your jumping and your hitting, and we're still maintaining our strength. Your speed is probably going to get better. Your mechanics are going to get better. You're going to get better at getting to the point of contact quicker, getting back down and getting back up quicker, and being able to be in shape more. And if you dial in that nutrition, who knows what will happen. But if you're going to keep doing things that are archaic and antiquated and using things that aren't the smartest because maybe you're limited with what you have for resources, you should ask the coach if you can get a safety bar. If you're a pitcher, if you're a hitter, if you're a quarterback, if you're in wrestling, if you're in a sport where shoulders get jacked up or knees get jacked up, the safety bar is very helpful. I'm not telling you to never do a back squat again. I'm not telling you to never do a good morning again. But these things can be done with a safety bar as well. So, or a cambered bar, or there's a number of different options, spider bar. So look into it and train smarter. And I can't wait till SUNY Geneseo starts using the bar and seeing the results.